Hi, just wanted to show you how to actually create uh, a spreadsheet that will help you calculate a loan versus a lease and kind of compare the two. Before we do that, I just want to go through another kind of presentation of loans versus leasing, and I want to do it in terms of timelines. So you have let's say you have a 5-year loan versus a 3-year lease. All right. On the 5-year loan, all right, you're going to pay. You're going to pay for the highlighted time. You're going to pay for 5 years. But you're going to pay off the entire value of the car. So you're going to pay the entire value of the car on that yellow piece. But then you're going to actually own the car forever. You'll own the car forever. So you will own the car as long as you have it, as long as you don't sell it. So you'll own the car forever. And then after 5 years, you don't owe anything. You owe nothing on the car after 5 years because you've actually paid for the entire value of the car. A lease basically says, instead of paying for the entire car over a certain amount of time and owning the car forever, what you're going to do is you're going to pay for the car. Whoops, excuse me, wrong color. You're going to pay to own only 3 years of the car, basically. So you pay and you own only 3 years of the car. So you pay, whoops, sorry, getting used to this. You pay for only 3 years of the car. But then you also only own it for 3 years. And I'm putting own in quotes because you're really borrowing the car. You own it for only those 3 years. So after the 3 years are up, you have to go get a new car. And that's why people with leases, they drive new cars, because what they do is they get a lease, and then they go 3 years goes by, and they get another lease. And basically, what happens is that you only pay 3 years, the first 3 years of owning the car, and then what's left of the car as value is called the residual value. So the car maintains value that you do not pay for. You don't pay for this. You do not pay for this, for the residual value of the car. Whereas for a loan, you're paying for the entire car. So you own that car forever, and you own the value of that car. So if that car is worth $6,000, that's $6,000 that you actually have. When you lease a car, at the end of the 3 years, you don't pay the residual value, but you also don't get it. You don't have it. So you don't have the car. So there's sort of a trade-off there. You don't have to pay for the car you don't have to pay for any value after 3 years, but you don't have the car either. So now the question is, how do we actually calculate the spreadsheet for the lease? So a few things. Here's the old just purchasing a car, all right? I'm going to use the same numbers. I'm going to have $5,000 saved up for a car, $24,000 for the purchase price of the car, $2,000 for tax tags and title, and therefore a down payment of $3,000. All right? I'm going to port those numbers. Notice I just changed this to the leasing spreadsheet. $5,000 for the car. You have it saved up. $24,000 to purchase, $2,000 for the tax tags and title estimate, and $3,000 for the down payment. Now, what's happening is we're going to do a 3-year lease. So I'm going to put that in here. All right, a 3-year lease, which is 3 times 12, 36 months. And we're not actually going to borrow. Here, if we look, we had $24,000 for a purchase price. $3,000 turned out to be our down payment. We borrowed $21,000. That goes on our timeline. So we actually borrowed $21,000. So we had to pay that off plus interest. So we borrowed $21,000. We're not going to borrow that much because what we're going to do is we're only going to be paying to own the car, and I use own in quotes, for 3 years. So we're not going to pay the full $21,000. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be paying a certain amount called we're going to pay the car, we're going to pay the price of the car minus what's called a residual. A residual is the amount of money that the car is worth after a certain amount of time. So for example, if I took my Nissan, all right, this is a Nissan, I think it was a Sentra, 2016. I think it was an SR. Now I look here, all right, this actually gives me, after 36 months, it says the residual percentage is 50%. What that means is that after 36 months, 50% of the value of the car is left. So watch how this is going to work, okay? My residual percentage is 50%, okay? So that means that after 3 years, my car is worth 50% of what it was after it was new. So remember, cars have wear and tear, they have mileage and stuff like that. So this is going to be 24,000. It's going to be 50% of 24,000. And that gets me my $12,000. This is the value of the car after 3 years. So I actually don't pay that amount. I don't pay for the residual $12,000. That's what's left over. This would be my $12,000. I do not pay for this because after the lease is up, I have to give the car back. This $12,000 goes back to the dealer in the form of a car. And the dealer can sell that car, the dealer can trade that car, the dealer can do lots of things. Generally what happens is the used car market gets this car and the dealer will try to sell it. But anyway, this amount I do not have to pay for. So if I think about what I had, before I had to pay $21,000, but then I owned the car forever. Now I'm not paying $12,000. That's the residual value that's left after 3 years. So I'm paying the difference between these two values, which is $9,000. And that's the amount of the loan that I have to pay. So to calculate that in our spreadsheet, if you see, okay, equals, well, I started with my purchase price, right, minus my down payment, and then minus the residual value. So now, what I'm really doing is I'm borrowing $9,000 from the car company. And that gets me through the first 3 years of this car. $9,000 I borrowed. The car was really worth $12,000, but I put $3,000 down. And now I'm really taking out a loan of $9,000 if you want to think of it like that. Because after the 3 years is up, the car is worth $12,000. I'm not paying that. I'm giving that back to the dealer. And that's how this works. Now, what's going to happen is, if you take a look, when I'm buying the car, I have to take out a much bigger loan. I'm taking out a $21,000 loan as opposed to a $9,000 loan. But here's what the catch is. What happens is, with a lease, See, our APR for a car loan was 4.3%. With a lease, it's going to be something like 7.5%. And that's how the car company actually makes money. What they do is your amount that you're borrowing is way less, but your APR is a lot more. And therefore the monthly rate is more, so that's going to be $750 divided by 12. Now watch, this is an interesting thing. Your monthly payment, we're going to use the same exact formula that we did that Google Sheets has. It's I'll start equals payment. You put in your rate. You put in comma the number of months, comma the loan. Okay, and this comes out to negative 280 because you're paying it. So we just throw a negative sign in front of there, and we get positive 280. So if you look, before when I was buying the car, I had to pay $390 a month to have the same car. I'm leasing it now, and I'm paying $280 a month. So that payment is a lot less, obviously. But remember, once the 3 years is up, I don't have a car anymore. So yeah, I'm paying $280 a month. I'm paying $280 a month for this car versus paying $390 a month. But at the end of the lease, I don't have a car anymore. That's why I pay less, because I'm giving the car back. In a loan, I'm paying more, but I own the car for as long as I have it. So I'm paying for longer, I'm paying more, but I own the car at the end. Versus a lease where I'm paying less, but I only have the car for the 3 years. And that's really the key difference. And now you'll be able to actually fill out this spreadsheet. And you guys can do this now that you have the payment amount. Alright, so you should be able to fill out the spreadsheet for Nissan Sentra, and then you're going to be researching your own car. Thanks.